It's that time of year again, budget time. My job on Oxford City Council, other than to be a ward councillor, is as the executive member for Better Finances, Mr Council Tax to my friends. And every waking moment, and quite a few non-waking moments, between now and February when the City Council's budget is actually set, will be devoted to trying to wrestle with the Oxford City budget for 2007 and 8 and beyond. And that will mean wading through piles and piles of documents like this, which detail what the City Council is spending, on what, and to what effect. Yet, even as I delve into all of this, I'm acutely conscious that for all my efforts, the effect will be at best marginal. Oxford City Council spent £25.4 million on what are referred to as general fund services. That's services provided by the Council for the whole of the population of Oxford, and that's separate from the money which the City Council spends on tenants in council housing, for example. So £25.4 million, that's the spend. Of that, £9.8 million only is raised through council tax. Now that's a little more than a third. So where does the other two-thirds come from? Well, £10.4 million came from central government grant, with a further £4.1 million contribution from national non-domestic rates, or business rates as they used to be called. This means that council tax is not as crucial to the overall budget setting process as the public understandably expects it must be. My ready reckoner is this: if I want to keep council tax increases in Oxford down, which I do, I reckon that every 1% decrease in council tax costs about £100,000. Now, 100k is 100k, but it's a tiny fraction of the overall council spending. And this leads to what is known as the gearing effect, whereby even very small increases in council spending can lead to disproportionately large increases in the amount of council tax which the public has to pay. The real problem here is quite simple. Britain's tax system is ludicrously over-centralised. Almost 95% of tax revenues are raised by central government. Local government has been totally disenfranchised, first by the rate-capping Conservative governments of the 1980s and 1990s, and in the last 10 years by Tony Blair's increasingly authoritarian New Labour government. Mrs Thatcher, John Major, Mr Blair, none of them have been prepared to cede to local government the powers they need to raise money locally so that they can fund local services. All these Prime Ministers have wanted to maintain their grip on power, to make sure that local government has to keep going back to central government, cap in hand, asking for that extra bit of cash. There is a better way. Local councils should become responsible for raising the majority of their spending locally. Business rates should be reformed and localised. Council tax should be scrapped and replaced with a local wealth tax, such as land value tax. Such measures would increase the level of taxation raised locally to at least 50%, hopefully more in time, with a corresponding reduction in the amount of taxes raised nationally. This would impose real responsibility on local councils, and would, at long last, allow the public to make a fair and informed judgment on whether their elected representatives, folk like me, are actually representing their interests. And if they think that I'm taxing them too much, wasting their money and providing them with poor services, well, they know what they can do about it. They can kick me out of office. Now that's real democracy.